How are you?
I'm feeling blessed today. Thank you.
Good. Why are you feeling blessed?
It's just was an amazing day. I looked forward to being here all day. I did a one-on-one this morning with a new person. We did it over breakfast.
That's fun.
That was cool, yeah.
Do you usually see people over breakfast?
No, this was a private session through my church.
Okay.
She's a patient to our client through the church.
Okay. So tell me more about the church. What is it called? It's called Hillside. No, Hilltop.
So it's Hilltop Community Church.
Hilltop.
So that's the building that it's in. Our church is actually called Free on the Outside.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so we work with people coming out of prison.
Okay.
And when we came up with the name, there was a bunch of guys that were on our board that were inmates. And it's called Free on the Inside, service on the inside. So they said, wow, let's call it Free on the Outside. So photo stuck.
I love it. I love it. So for anyone who might be listening or watching, can you tell me a little bit more about the church and its congregation?
So our congregation is open to people with restrictions.
And is it practicing Christianity or?
It is.
Okay. Yes.
I like to call it more spiritual than religious.
Okay.
But it is Christ-based program.
Okay.
Absolutely. We have Celebrate Recovery there.
Okay.
Which is the 12 steps based on the Beatitudes. We name our higher power.
Okay. Yeah. And so do you have other programs with 12-step there at the church?
So there's a couple of groups that rent out space there for AA and NA groups.
Okay.
There's a really powerful men's speaker meeting on Monday nights. I highly recommend.
Yeah. Okay.
Long-term recovery there. It's a packed house. Get there early.
Okay. Yeah. And you also feed people, I feel like. Don't you have a kitchen?
So we do. We have dinner for Celebrate Recovery and for church services on Sundays.
Wow.
During the holidays, I'm kind of famous for deep frying turkeys in the parking lot.
Okay. Okay. So how did this all begin? Because you helped co-found it, right?
So Mike Cross is the pastor, and he's actually the founder.
Okay.
I met him. I spoke about men with restrictions in prison as the lepers of the new millennium. And a guy overheard me say that. And he goes, you have to meet this guy. So he said that he heard Mike Cross say the same thing.
Really?
That he works with the lepers of the new millennium.
And why do you feel like you work with the lepers of the new millennium?
So to actually put it in a nutshell, we are sex offender friendly.
Okay.
So
do you feel like they're the forgotten? Is that why you call them the lepers? That society doesn't want?
So they're not actually forgotten. They're hated, even in prison. I hear stories about men having to pay rent in prison and just for their personal protection. Mm-hmm. And it's a rough place for them. So they come out and they have restrictions. They can't go to mainstream churches. They can't go around children. They can't go near daycares. They can't be on computers, right? There's all kinds of rules around what they can and can't do.
And a lot of discrimination.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And
not a lot of compassion.
Yes. So they come to our church and get loved on.
Okay.
And we have housing. We have beds available.
You have housing. That's right.
Yeah, we have housing. Free on the Outside is really an amazing program.
It really is. Yeah, you've helped develop it. How long has it been around?
14 years or so. Coming on 15, I believe.
Okay. And you didn't know Mike previous to this experience?
I did not.
So you guys kind of developed it together, it sounds like.
Mike had it kind of running, and it was really I remember our first Celebrate Recovery, there was 5 of us in the back room of a house called the House of Prayer. So I don't want to say the name of the church, but a big church sponsored us.
Okay.
And they gave us the back room in a little house that they called the House of Prayer that was on the church property.
Okay.
So we got to meet there one day a week, and we did Celebrate Recovery.
So you've really ground this from,
Absolutely.
the root.
So we've moved 3 times. We were at the Carriage House, which is in Oregon City next door to Mike's Drive-In. We had the first floor of that building. That was our church for a long time.
I know where Mike's Drive-In is.
Right. So it's that big red building next door to Mike's Drive-In.
Okay.
We were on the first floor of that for a long time.
Okay.
For a long time we were there. Talking about the House of Prayer, I have a picture of the very first turkey that I deep fried for a holiday for free on the outside. It was snowing, and I was standing in the snow, deep fried a turkey in the parking lot.
That's dedication.
So I do it every year now.
Does it feed? What does it feed for you?
It feeds my... So there's a couple things. My secondary agenda is if I'm cooking, everybody comes by to talk to me.
Oh, no, I mean with the church.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Sorry.
Am I all right
But
now?
the feeding, we were talking about turkey. Yes, I segued. I'm sorry, in my mind. I mean, providing this space for people. What does that feed within you? Like, how does that nurture the parts of you? Or, why do you do it? That's dedication,
absolutely
right?
Opens up my heart. And so when I first got clean in 2005, so I am a survivor. So I started volunteering through religious services, the Home for Good Oregon program. And I did that with a secondary agenda. My agenda was to put a face on my perpetrator and exact revenge.
Okay.
The reality of that is, as I got to know these men and started working with them, the doors just kept opening. I resisted. Really? You really want me to do this, Lord? Come on, man. And the doors just kept opening. And as the doors opened, I just stepped through, and my world just exploded. It just opened up in a giant way.
Yeah.
And I realized I am in no position to judge anybody. There's redemption for all who search it out.
Mm-hmm. There's compassion for all who search it out too.
And it's just what I've realized in long-term recovery is that I have compassion for hurting human beings. And I kind of owe the world an amends that I can't give back by saying sorry. So I just try to lift people to their greatest potential one at a time.
And this isn't the only thing that you do. You also take care of people through your career too.
I do.
Yeah. Do you ever have compassion fatigue? Tell us about that.
You know what? I think we all do, right? So I'm a big supporter of self-care.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we met that you were concerned about all of the things that I was doing. Yeah.
Right. I talked to you about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a huge supporter of self-care. I consider this self-care.
Mm-hmm. I do too, which is why it doesn't drain me.
Right.
And why I really enjoy it, right?
Oh,
Because it's
cool.
feeding something in me by giving back, right? So, yeah. So I think it depends on how you organize your day, and the things that you are doing need to be reciprocal as opposed to just draining, right?
Right.
If you're just giving energy away and it's not giving something back to you. Mm-hmm. And so organizing your life in that way, it's actually energizing, especially if you have good boundaries.
There you go.
Now,
unfortunately, some days boundaries get gray.
Yeah, and I work around a lot of people who grew up with no boundaries, including myself. So,
right.
Sometimes we're learning those later in life. We get better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned my boundaries the hard way,
Me
unfortunately.
too. I tested them all.
Right.
Multiple times. Do you mind switching into talking about your childhood a little?
We can do that, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So where were you born, or where did you grow up?
I was born in Seattle, Washington.
Okay. That was pretty, I bet, but very rainy.
Yeah, it was. So I love the Northwest. It's beautiful here. I've traveled the world. I've been everywhere. I've traveled a
Have
lot.
you?
I've been in every state.
You've been in every state.
Every single one.
As an adult or like as a child with, in the back of a
Nope.
station wagon?
As an adult.
Drug around
As
by
an
your
adult.
parents or whatever.
No, there wasn't much of that.
Okay. Because I bet you rode your motorcycle.
So I rode my motorcycle a lot.
Okay.
So in my career, in my addiction, I was a commercial furniture installer.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So I was a factory rep for a couple of big furniture manufacturers. And I went to Saipan. I got to go. I was in Trump Tower. I installed furniture at his place. I was at Bill Gates's house.
No wonder you're commenting on the light fixture in my front entry and whether or not it's straight.
It's not.
You're used to being around. You're used to being around circumstances where that was really, really important.
It was really, really important. The guys that used to work for me would say, "Laser eyes coming," right? Mm-hmm. I'd walk into a room and go, "What's up down there, guys? Right? And what's going on over here?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I moved Microsoft to the campus that they're at now from the 520. They used to be on 520, which is a highway in Seattle. And then they moved out to the Redmond campus where they're at now. I was part of that. I was the lead on the job. Bill Gates's dad funded the University of Washington Law School. I was the lead on that job.
So you've met some important people.
Yeah, I was in my addiction. It didn't really matter.
Yeah.
So there's people that I worked with today. They're doing gumball rallies and they're retired. I wasn't that guy. Mm-hmm. I didn't make wise decisions.
Well, you made the decisions that you made, and they gave you the interesting life that you have now.
They put me to where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm. You have a great story because of it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've traveled all over the country. Like I said, I've been in every state. So my father was a Teamster truck driver. He died when I was 11.
Wow. What was that like for you?
That was brutal.
I bet it was.
It was the last day of 5th grade. I remember walking up the driveway and like all my family's grandparents and stuff's cars were in the driveway. It was so weird, right? It's
yeah,
really
you're
surreal.
Like, what is going on?
And I walked up the driveway and my grandmother walks out onto the driveway. She goes, "Your daddy's dead." Just like that. My mom wasn't there. She was doing what moms had to do when their husbands die, right? She was out doing something, whatever. I was 11. I don't know.
Probably being brought to the body, making details or, identifying.
I don't even know, right?
Yeah.
So
going over his whereabouts or whatever happened or,
she wasn't there and my grandmother dropped this bombshell on me.
Right. How did he die?
Heart attack, went to work, didn't come home.
Okay. All right. So then, it was unexpected for sure.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah. And so how did your mom handle that news?
So it was my sister and I and her, and she dialed in with some friends, and my sister got close with her, and I got angry. I was an angry young man.
Were you angry because someone had taken your father away from you?
I felt abandoned, and I felt that it was my fault, that I said the wrong thing or didn't do the right thing.
So you blamed yourself for the fact that your dad had a heart attack and didn't show back up in your life?
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, and no one walked you through that or corrected it for you?
No.
Okay.
And this was like 71. Like counselors weren't even a thing, really.
No, there was no such thing as personal development.
Right.
Yeah.
There wasn't any self-care. Pull your bootstraps up and deal with it.
You just suck it up or you push it down.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so you're 11 and your dad dies and your mom and your sister get close and you have no one.
Right.
And you're real angry.
I was really angry.
And how did that manifest in your life?
I got in trouble. A lot of trouble.
Give us an example.
I started stealing cars. I saw Evel Knievel jump 21 cars at Monroe Speedway. He was my hero. From that point forward, I wanted to be a stunt driver.
No way.
So where the Alderwood Mall is now.
Where's that? Oh, in Seattle area?
Yeah, it's the largest mall this side of the Mississippi, actually.
Oh,
the Alderwood Mall.
I did not know this.
So the people that owned that property, a dear friend of mine, Vicky, her grandparents owned that property. And it was just raw land, a giant raw field. So we steal cars and do stunts in that field.
That's unbelievable.
If I ever stole your car, I'm sorry.
What a story, though. Oh, my God. How old were you?
Oh, like 12, 13.
You weren't even driving age yet?
No, I wasn't. No, of course not.
So who taught you how to drive? You were very ambitious as a young man.
So I was driving go-karts and stuff. I knew how to drive.
Okay. All right. I guess I did too. Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe.
Right.
Ish.
Right.
I don't know. I lived a pretty sheltered life. So, yeah, I guess I probably had driven one. Maybe not by 12, but yeah.
So I spent a lot of time at Denny Youth Center. I got into drugs in a giant way.
What's Denny Youth Center?
Denny Youth Center. It was
Denny Youth
juvenile jail.
Oh,
basically.
Okay.
So I was in and out of there. I finally ended up getting sent to a place called Brackenwood Boys Home. That was a big turning point in my life.
Why was that?
I moved in with a bunch of people that taught me to be a criminal. So another amazing thing happened at that point. I was like almost 13. I went to Brackenwood Boys Home. And we walked to the 7-Eleven or the little market store on the corner to get some candy, right?
How old are you at this point? What year is
12 or 13. It's like 72 or 73.
Okay, that's the year I was born. Yeah.
So yeah, I was, and I was an adult. I had it going on.
Well, you were 12.
But in my mind, I was an adult.
Oh, yes.
But I had it going on.
Yeah, you did. You were stealing cars.
Right, and I lived with a bunch of other guys, and we didn't care.
Yeah.
We'd been in all the houses that were close to us. We were criminal. If it wasn't nailed down, we were taking it. We just stole things. We just took things.
And then would you resell them, or what would you do with them?
Well, people weren't really buying hot stuff then. So we got involved with committing person-to-person crimes downtown Seattle and stealing car stereos and stuff as I got a little older.
And then what would you do with the stereos?
So there was a guy that owned a donut shop on First and Pike, cross street from Pike Place Market. It's not there anymore. That guy had a back room that was full of car stereos, and he was called a fence. He was our fence. He bought things from us. Okay. Sorry, bro. I don't even know if he's still alive. That was 100 years ago, right? Yeah. That whole neighborhood's changed now. There was prostitutes and people on the corners.
Right. They cleaned it up.
And that's where we hung out.
They put Starbucks across the street.
There is Starbucks across the street.
And Beecher's mac and cheese, which is delicious if anyone's ever there.
I love that part of town. No, it's a cool part of town.
It is really cool. I love getting fresh flowers, but I used to get them. My dad was into going to Seattle, maybe because he was in the Navy. And so I'd been there a couple of times in college. Right. And yeah, I brought home big bouquets.
Seattle. I love Seattle. I love Pike Place Market.
It's so cool. I love history.
I've been hanging out there my whole life. Going down
there. Yeah.
I've watched it grow. I've watched it change. I've watched it grow up.
That's like Market Street in San Francisco.
Same
thing.
So I love the Bay too. I lived in San Francisco in
Did you?
In 77.
Okay. What brought you to the Bay Area?
I escaped from a juvenile institution called Mission Creek.
Okay. And how did you get down to California?
I stole a milk truck in Blaine, Washington. Mission Creek's out on the peninsula.
How old are you now?
I was 16.
Okay. Did you have a license?
So I was
you drove all the way from You were very ambitious.
I was very ambitious. So 11 of us escaped from Mission Creek, and that was a juvenile institution. That was pretty heavy. I danced around. I went to Brackenwood Boys Home. So let me tell you, my boys' home story.
Okay,
real
please
quick,
do.
okay?
Yes.
It's
yes.
kind of important.
Yes.
It was a
No.
turning point in my
I
life.
really, really want to hear it. I forgot. Sorry. We went on another tangent.
The kids, we went into the store, and these older guys dared me to boost a bottle of Mad Dog, MD 2020.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that Mad Dog's designed for boosting. Right, it comes in a flat bottle, right? All that. That I think that it's hooked the monkey on a lot of kids' backs.
Probably.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I boosted this bottle, and as I got outside, since I boosted the bottle, I got the first hit. So I unscrewed the cap, and I slammed half that bottle in one slam.
Wow.
An amazing thing happened.
What happened?
I didn't have a dead dad. I wasn't a punk. I hadn't been fondled by neighbors and babysitters that my mom brought into the house. I was somebody. I belonged. I fit in.
All
Life
because of the
changed.
Mad Dog.
I chased that feeling for the rest of my life.
Because it numbed it?
It just, everything went away.
Wow. I wish, and I'm being completely honest, I was actually telling Jason this the other day, that alcohol had been that effective for me. I drank myself into oblivion, but it made me think about a lot. It certainly numbed it, but it didn't make it ever go away.
So,
I would get very sad and very despondent, but at least the pain, it numbed the pain. It was like an anesthetic for me.
I got happy as I got older. I danced on the bar and had a good time.
I did have good times. Yeah, I for sure wasn't morose the entire time. But if there was something bothering me, like there was something really difficult in my life, it sometimes would make it worse. Yeah. So, and then you have to drink even more, right?
Right. Had a tendency to amplify things.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's good that it made you feel like you fit in. I mean, that you could fit in, not necessarily that was the reason why, but
Right.
At least you had.
It's not that I really fit in. I felt that I fit in.
Yeah.
I belonged.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could do something more than anybody else. I could boost more and drink more. I became a professional.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that was my first blackout.
Okay.
First time I drank.
The first time you drank. I think, I don't know if I blacked out, but I definitely threw up a bunch. I gave myself alcohol poisoning the first time. Well, not maybe the first time, but the first like major time that I was alone away from my family and had access to alcohol. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank God you're here.
I know. I gave myself alcohol poisoning many times. I would say 4 or 5 times. Yeah. People almost
I'm
either
sure.
had to call an ambulance or give me a shot in my butt or some
the adrenaline thing.
Yep, something. Yeah. I wanted to leave.
I lived every day like this was going to be the last day. In fact, I woke up in the morning angry most times.
I was pretty angry too.
That I woke up, actually.
And you had to do it all over again.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say I relapsed every day of my life because I'd wake up in the morning, oh my God, I'm not going to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that sucked. Oh, I feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
I would hate my phone ringing. You know what you did last night? No.
Because you couldn't remember.
I believe that's denial at its finest.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
I didn't deny that I drank.
Yeah.
I denied that I was the low life that I really was. As long as I could point at somebody else and say, at least I'm not that, I was okay.
Well, I mean,
that was my
I'm
core
going to
belief.
give you a little compassion and say you weren't a low life. You were just in a low spot.
I was in a very low spot.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I have no judgment for your experience whatsoever. But, I think that no one's really judging you anymore except for you. So
thank you.
You're welcome. No need to call yourself a low life. You just didn't know then what you know.
A low life.
Yeah.
if I'd have realized that I was the low life that I really was, I'd have blown my brains out a long time ago.
Okay.
So that's why I say that's denial. I denied that I was as broken as I really was.
Yeah, you felt like you were broken, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I respect that. Yeah. It's some pretty hard beliefs. Well, I'm glad that you made it here too and didn't blow your brains out, because
Thank you.
You wouldn't be having this conversation with me. We wouldn't have met. You wouldn't have touched as many lives as you have. You certainly couldn't inspire the people that you do. So
Thank you.
there was obviously a bigger reason for you to be here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have woken up one day.
I believe that too.
And
why I continue to wake up sucking air. God's not done with me yet.
No. And you're not done with you yet. You know, you just keep getting better. And that's what life's all about. We all just keep getting better at being who we are, hopefully, if we're paying attention. Yeah, some people shut that off, but but anyone who's trying to develop as a person or become, more emotionally aware or more responsive, or take responsibility for their past, or take responsibility for who they are or their actions or the beliefs that they have. Anyone that's trying to do that just is getting better at being who they are rather than who they're supposed to be or who they were taught to be or what is expected of them, right?
Right.
Yeah, and as we get older, we kind of get a little bit more loose and not give a fuck, right? We're like, I don't care what you think. When I was in my 20s, I cared a lot more about what people think, but now that I'm older, it's a lot easier to be more free.
It is much easier to not care what other people think.
Yeah. Yeah. So we left off with you.
At Breckenwood Boys Home discovering Mad Dog.
And finally being accepted.
Right. So back then it was against the law to be a runaway. So
were you considered a runaway by this point?
So I ran away a lot. So I used to say whenever the pressure got turned up. But what I realized in my self-work is as soon as people saw through my pretend exterior and saw that I was a broken, abused little kid inside, I would run away. So
because you had so much shame.
I did, yep. And guilt, and that I had deserted my sister and my mom and all that. And I didn't realize that until after the fact, because I was numb. So every time I would run away, I would get arrested and I would get sent someplace more hardcore.
Okay.
Breckenwood, Silo Ranch, Cascadia, Green Hill, Mission Creek. I made the rounds. Mission Creek was the top of the pecking order in juvenile institutions. I was actually a ward of the state at that point, right? It's like prison for juveniles.
How old are you now?
16, just about
Still 16.
Just about 17.
Wow, so this happened fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 11 of one day.
How many times did you run away?
Oh, half a dozen anyway.
Okay.
Every 6 or 7 months I'd spend.
How would you run away? How would you get out?
Well, most of the places that I were at to that point weren't locked down.
Okay.
They just.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
They just made you stay, right?
Yeah,
you can't go anywhere.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that works for me, right?
Okay.
See, so Mission Creek was
no one told you what to do.
Kinda. So Cascadia and Green Hill, those were extreme lockdowns. Mission Creek was an extreme lockdown. So I was standing next to a door one night. I got socks on. I didn't even have shoes on. And the door opened. I was a rabbit. I was gone, out the door. 11 of us ran out the door. 3 of us made it away from there. The rest got busted in the woods. I was in the water to my neck for like 3 hours.
Was the water cold?
Very. Yeah, it was crummy outside. It was crappie. me and a brother named Topper. I miss you, brother. And another guy, I can't remember his name. But we watched the staff. Like they're in the woods smoking and stuff, being quiet, but they're smoking. Oh, come on, man. Right? Wow. You got a cigarette in your hand. I see you.
Yeah.
And we're just hiding. We're hiding.
Yeah.
And they just busted people as they came out of the water or came out of the woods or sneezed, farted, whatever, right? They made a noise and got busted.
Yeah.
So 3 of us, when the staff gave up waiting on us, thinking that we'd gotten away a lot further than we were right outside that camp. We came out of the water and stole a milk truck and
all 3 of you in the milk
drove to San
truck.
Francisco.
Okay.
So Topper had friends in the avenues, down on the avenues in
San
Francisco.
In the Sunset District.
Right, absolutely. So we went down there and hung out and skateboarded.
In the 70s.
77. I went to all the Days on the Green, saw Led Zeppelin, saw Zeppelin.
Did not.
I did, absolutely. Hart, Steve Miller, the Eagles and Foreigner. Eagles were doing Hotel California tour. Hart was doing Dreamboat Annie. Steve Miller was doing the Joker. This is when they were all at their prime, right? Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Where was it? Was it in Golden Gate Park? Where did you see them?
So I saw the Tubes at Golden Gate Park a bunch of times. They played there for free all the time.
Okay.
But this was at the Oakland Coliseum, Days on the Green.
Okay.
And so I got a little LSD connection there, and we were buying acid by the vial in liquid form. I'd go to parties and drip it on pizzas and everybody's drinks, drip it in people's eyes. We spent the whole summer high on acid. It was amazing. So then my buddy Topper got arrested. So then I was the only one left. So they were his friends, really. So I got paranoid and ran away from that group. And I spent a month in Yosemite. I was hitchhiking around, right? Spent a month in Yosemite.
Back when you could hitchhike.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Spent a month in Yosemite. I spent like a whole day on a ramp in Bakersfield. That was when some serial killer was hitchhiking around.
Wow.
Right? It was bad. Nobody was picking anybody up, right?
Uh-huh.
So I spent a whole day on a ramp. Got picked up by a young lady in a white Monte Carlo. I'll never forget that. Took me home, did my laundry, took care of business, bought me a carton of smokes and a bottle of Jaeger, and dropped me off at the next ramp. So I spent another day standing on the freeway. I got picked up by an officer in the military that was stationed at Fort Knox, Tennessee. We drove from Bakersfield, California. He goes, "Do you have a license?" I said, "Yeah." I didn't. And so he had a new New Yorker. I drove for a while. He would drive for a while. We made sandwiches and drove straight through to Tennessee. I went to a commune called The Farm in Summertown, Tennessee. Stephen Gaskins was a professor at Berkeley during the whole LSD thing. And he went to Summertown, Tennessee, 1,700-acre farm with all these hippies and living off the land and doing a thing. And right. So I went there. I was a little rough around the edges for them. I was, wow, where are all the hippie girls and where's the dope? Right? Let's get high. And they wanted me to give up my leather belt and go vegan and all the, wow, yeah, this is a little extreme for me, man. I'm out. Where's the dope again? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I met another guy there with my attitude. We hitchhiked out of there and went to Naples, Florida. He had friends there.
Okay.
That's on the Gulf Coast of Florida. It's
yep.
a pretty amazing place.
It is. It's beautiful.
We picked mushrooms in the Everglades. I saw alligator, snakes, scary stuff. We worked at a concrete block plant. It's very weird. I called my PO on my 18th birthday from Naples, Florida. And he said, "You know what? You made it. If you'd have been arrested yesterday, you'd have had 5 years added onto your sentence. Good luck in life."
Good. So your record was clear.
Well, yeah, he still had a record, but and stuff didn't carry on after that. That was back in the days when if you were arrested as a juvenile, it didn't pursue you for the rest of your life.
Right. Okay. So now you're in Naples.
Yeah. So, well, I came home. I hitchhiked back across the country, came back to Seattle, Washington. I had a foster mom, Jan. Jan, I miss you too. I went back to her house, and I went to Job Corps. Then I got arrested again a couple times. I stole cars.
From stealing cars.
Yep, I stole cars.
Was it what about cars? Was it the accessibility? You knew how, it was easy, it was
All those
easy money, it was
and I just stole
the
them
thrill of it.
Yeah, it was the thrill of it, and I stole them for transportation.
Okay.
I never sold them. I didn't do anything like that. I'd crash them, drive them through the woods, do stupid stuff. Right?
Oh, really? So you're still a kid?
Oh, yeah. I'm still a kid. I'm 63. How old am I? 63. I'm going to be 64 in like 30 days, actually.
Oh.
November 17th.
You were both Scorpios.
We both are?
Mm-hmm.
When's your birthday?
November 6th.
Oh, yeah. I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. So you are now how old? How old are you approximately?
So I'm at like 18, late 18, early 19.
Okay. What's next for you? You're out in San Francisco.
I looked at a judge and he said, I'll make a deal. You go to prison or you go in the military. 2 weeks later, I had a crew cut. I was doing push-ups in the snow in New Jersey. I went in the military.
Okay. Which branch?
Army.
Okay.
I became
There's a lot of push-ups.
So you've met me. I am sarcastic and I think I'm funny as hell, but I'm really not. So I did a lot of push-ups because I just don't conform well.
They're trying to break you.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of push-ups. I went to Europe. I went to Germany, Stuttgart, Germany. I was stationed at 7th Corps headquarters.
Really?
I had sham duty. It was gravy. That's where I really learned to drink like a professional. So they got, Mad Dog strength beer that you can buy at the beer machine across the street from my post. 24/7. Plug your little German marks into the machine, spit you out a case of beer.
Did they care that you were drunk?
No.
Okay.
So that was before UAs or anything. Like we were smoking opium-laced hash that you buy at the bars. My very first day in Germany, we're in Frankfurt, Germany. So I play Frisbee, too. I'm a Frisbee guy. Always have, there's a Frisbee underneath the seat of my car as we speak right now. I still have Frisbees.
I love Frisbees.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. So I had a Frisbee. I hear my phone ring.
I do too.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Keep going.
So I'm carrying my Frisbee. It's a 165 gram white Masters. I'll never forget. So we go to this little entrance to Europe. So stay away from the hookers. They got diseases we haven't even thought about in the United States yet. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do drugs. Don't hang around with those guys. Oh, there's no law against entrapment. The police will sell you dope and arrest you for it, right? They just laid us on to all this crap trying to scare the hell out of us, right? So most of the guys never got out of their uniforms and went and hid in the barracks. I put my civvies on and hit the street. What's Frankfurt? What's going on, man?
Yeah.
So I'm walking around in this big park and I see these cops. They look like SS troops, big, German shepherds and machine guns, and it's pretty scary stuff, man, right? I go, wow. And there's this group of people and they're sitting in a big circle and drinking wine and smoking ash. And the guy's got a guitar and they're doing a thing, right? Oh, man, this is awesome. I sat down, slammed some wine. I fit right in. These guys are cool. And the guy traded me a silver dollar-sized chunk of bubblegum red hash for my Frisbee. My first black market deal. Day one.
Okay.
From that point forward, when I got to my permanent station, I staked out a corner of the red light district and I sold cigarettes, liquor, everything that I could buy at the PX I could sell for more on the German economy.
Wow.
So I had a African-American roommate. Brother was a stand-up guy. We were good friends. And back in those days, it wasn't really cool to be friends, right?
Yeah,
it was very racist and stuff.
Yeah.
But we were roommates. We were cool, right?
Yeah.
And so...
You're also in a foreign country together.
Right, we're in...
So no one's really watching you. Yeah.
Right, we're in Stuttgart, Germany.
Yeah.
So he had his corner of the market, and I had my corner of the market, and we operated together.
So you're like business partners, kind of.
Kinda. So they had ration cards. They give you ration cards. You were allowed so many bottles of whiskey a month, so many cartons of smokes a month. So I had everybody's ration card that didn't smoke. I had everybody's ration card that didn't drink. So I had a shoebox full of ration cards. And that's what we did.
Okay. Did you save any of the money, or did you smoke it all away in hash?
Oh, yeah, we blew it all. I came home with a big old...
Was that your drug of choice?
So while I was in Europe, I did a little tour in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I found heroin.
Mm-hmm.
So opiates absolutely became my drug of choice.
Okay.
So once I came home...
How old were you when you got into opiates?
Like 22.
Okay.
So once I got home, I ride motorcycles. I've been riding my whole life. I got my first bike. My dad got me a Honda 90. I was like 9.
Okay.
That was my first motorcycle. I've never been without one. It's how I operate.
Yeah.
So a
couple you like the wind in your hair.
You're right. Yeah, my hair. She's making fun of my hair. So I trust you and I like you, so I can share with you. I have this small bald spot. A lot of people don't notice. But
oh.
So we had a couple of motorcycle accidents, some back surgeries.
Pain medication?
Pain medications.
Okay.
So and that was back in the days, which kind of before computers, when I have a doctor over here, doctor over here, doctor over here, right, and everybody's scripting me meds, and I was taking them as prescribed from like 5 different doctors.
That's a lot.
Right. So I was about 26 or 27. No, I was probably 30-ish. And one of my daughters, so I got married, and the young lady that I married had kids. So they became my children, right? I'm a semi-responsible psycho biker. So one of my kids, I wouldn't let her go to the party of the decade. She's 11. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I know what happens at those parties. I'm a guy. I know how it works. No, honey, you're not going. And she said, can I say a dirty word on this?
Yeah.
She said, you're just a fucking junkie. So every 6 hours or so, every 5 hours or so, I took a handful of multicolored yummies. I had done it for years. So I took everything, my whole medicine shelf, and I flushed it all down the toilet.
How old are you now?
You know what? I don't really remember. I'm 30-ish.
Okay.
So 24 hours later, I was having involuntary arm spasms. My hair hurt. I'd never gone through withdrawals before. I had a constant supply. When I wasn't getting them from my doctor, I rode with a bunch of guys that passed drugs around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I thought I had the flu from hell. My ex-wife now took me to the hospital, and I'm in the little room at the hospital.
Trying to convince them that you have the flu.
Emergency room, right? And so I'm freaking out in there. I'm kicking hard. I'm kicking. So my ex-wife goes out of the room to go get a nurse because I'm out of control. I turn the light off, and I'm under the bed when they come back in. And they turn the light on, and I felt I got stabbed.
Wow.
And the nurse, I remember her looking at Ronnie, is my ex-wife's name. I love you, Ronnie. I still do. That choked me up a little. I remember the nurse saying, does your husband take any drugs? And Ronnie said, well, that's an interesting story. Here's the list. So I was taking a bunch of benzos and stuff too. So I could have died from the withdrawals of that. So she hit me with methadone. And it was like pulling a warm blanket up to my chin. It all went away. Oh, life just
Got easier again.
Got easier again. So then the doctors cut me off. So then I started using street drugs. Yeah.
Which ones?
People say, what's your drug of choice? And I say, more, preferably yours. Whatever I could get.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Opiates were absolutely my drug of choice, but drugs.
Yeah.
I was really into psychedelics. I loved to go mushroom picking. I was into acid. I really like psychedelics.
Mm-hmm. They're pretty fun. I like them too.
At an Edgar Winter concert, saw Edgar Winter. During the song Frankenstein, the blonde chick that I was with, her face melted down the front of her shirt. And it sounded like everything I was saying was, I couldn't, that's what I was hearing. I thought I was saying words. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I saw the Coliseum take a giant breath and blow up. And big chunks of concrete started falling back into the crowd and stuff. When they eventually pumped my stomach, I thought they were turning me inside out. It was the thing. It was a big thing.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I experimented with a lot of drugs. I was constantly drinking.
Okay.
I had a bro that I hung out with, Vince. Him and I were inseparable. We drank. We got into trouble.
We stole cars.
We stole cars.
Yeah.
And
so
it was all about, I'm a motorhead. So, motorcycles, cars, it's kind of what I'm about that.
Mm-hmm. So what happened when you stopped taking all that medication and you had the methadone and the doctors took it away from you? Now what?
So I did methadone. I went on a methadone program for a minute.
Okay.
Medically assisted treatment.
Okay.
Hated it because they wouldn't give me enough.
Okay.
Right? Once a day? Come on, man.
Yeah.
So I ended up kicking methadone in jail, which is brutal. That was brutal.
I can only imagine.
Right? So, yeah, I was like, I was sick for a couple of weeks. That was pretty hard.
Uh-huh. And so would you relapse?
Well,
go back to things?
Yeah, so of course. Yeah, I didn't really relapse. I just continued to use.
Okay. So were you ever clean and sober? And how did you become clean?
So I couldn't use enough to make the guilt and shame go away anymore.
Okay. And when was that?
I was 45, 2/18/05.
Okay.
So 2/14/05, I took the first class flight off the East Coast. I was living on Nantucket. I'm not the man from Nantucket. I think my ex met that punk, but it's not me. Sorry. You can delete that.
You're fine.
We all know the man from Nantucket story, right?
Well, no, I don't know that everyone knows the story from that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say that on TV.
Okay. All right. It's not TV.
There's people giggling right now.
It's just YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's people that are going to hear that go, ah.
Sure.
So I took the first class flight off the East Coast, put me in Portland, Oregon. I came to like 4 days later. That was Valentine's Day. I came to like 4 days later. I walked into Providence St. Vincent's. I had one shoe on. I was soaking wet. It was cold that day, 2/18/05. I pulled a gun in the emergency room.
Why?
She asked me if I had a plan.
Did you pull the gun on her or yourself?
On myself.
Okay.
Like a couple of questions that I've learned are quite classic. Are you having plans of committing suicide?
Right.
Yes, I am. Do you have a plan?
Yeah.
And I pulled that Glock out and I looked down the barrel looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. That was my hope. I had lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
I hit my bottom.
Mm-hmm.
There was nobody else I could point at and say, at least I'm not that guy. I became that guy. I was in the gutter. I was at my bottom. I had one shoe on. She handled it very well, actually. She said, "May I have that?" I don't remember saying anything, but I set that piece down in front of her. 4 hours later, I was in the rubber room on the 5th floor of St. Vincent's, Providence St. Vincent's.
Mm-hmm. What was that like for you? It's different than jail.
It's very much different than jail.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up one night and there was a naked girl standing in the middle of my room. "What the hell are you doing in here?" She just turned around and walked out. I don't know if I imagined that but I'd heard that she'd done that to other people, so it was very weird.
I can imagine.
I was in a psych ward. I was in a psych ward.
Yeah. What was that like?
It was scary and enlightening at the same time. There were social workers there and they were trying to help me. And it wasn't like doing time as a juvenile. I was an adult and I went there looking for help. I was humbled and broken. I was humbled.
And so you learned better coping skills through that?
So I was there for 2 weeks, so they didn't teach me too much other than I kicked all the drugs out of my system.
And got clean.
And I got clean.
And what did that feel like?
That was new.
It was very new.
It was very new. So I'd overdone it.
Was it terrifying?
It was.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd overdone it before, right? Many times. We talked about the alcohol poisoning,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've OD'd on drugs. I've had my stomach pumped and thought I was being turned inside out, right? There are lots of events like
Mm-hmm.
that. Waking up in hospitals, waking up in jail, beat up with a hog tied underneath the bunk, beat up and not remembering it. I probably said something foul to an officer at some point. I did that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I flunked the attitude test is what they called it.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened many times. And this time I did this. I stepped in. I went in looking for help. From my heart, looking for help for real.
Mm-hmm. Why?
I couldn't use enough to make the guilt and shame go away anymore. I knew in my heart that there was supposed to be something else happening.
So you're finally willing to be open to something else.
I didn't know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I didn't know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I just thought I needed to dry out for a couple of weeks. I was going to step back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So from Psych City, when I released from there, so I didn't know anybody in Oregon. I took the first class flight off the East Coast. Like the lady said, "Where do you want to go?" "On the West Coast, sir." I said, "Anchorage to San Diego. I don't care. Get me off this godforsaken rock." The first class flight was to Portland, Oregon. You know why I wanted a first class flight? They don't cut you off in first class.
Nope.
And you can drink $30 worth of top shelf liquor for $300. Good deal.
Yep.
So actually, the last thing I remember on that fine Valentine's Day was walking into a TGIF Fridays in Boston, Massachusetts, because you have to take a puddle jumper off the island to the mainland, and then you catch a real airplane, right?
Yeah.
So I walked into a TGIF Friday, and the bartender said, "Would you like a double for $1 more?" Really? Look at these bloodshot eyes and this glowing red nose. Are you shitting? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Of course I would have never asked me that again.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I remember until I woke up on the morning of the 18th.
Okay. Wow.
So then I woke up and there was puke down in front of me. I had one shoe on. It was all bad, right?
Yeah.
So I get in a cab to go to Castle. CASL, Clean and Sober Living, Castle. It's in Cornelius. It's not there anymore, but it was. It was owned by Larry Bowen. He was a pastor or a chaplain at that point with Washington County Jail. And he was a pastor with a big church in Beaverton. Cool guy. I still communicate with him today. He's a chaplain with the prisons down in Salem.
Huh.
Yep, cool guy. And
This is what year?
05.
Okay.
February 05.
That's right.
Actually, so January, February. March 1st, my insurance ran out. I was miraculously cured. Get out, said Providence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Castle that day. So I'm going to move in with 35 of my other new clean and sober buddies. I hated it.
I bet you did.
I was angry and upside down, and I didn't understand.
And everyone's telling you what you should be doing.
Right, and I was doing it wrong. And don't tell me I'm doing it wrong. That way doesn't work for me. Still today doesn't work for me. Mm-hmm. So a brother that I love very much today, he's my best friend. I live with him. Currently, I live with him. Solid guy. Was one of the first guys I ever laid eyes on sober out of Psych City. And I'd ask him stuff like, brother, when does the shaking stop? When do I go to the bathroom like the big boys? When do I sleep through the night? When do the dreams stop? When do I get to be normal? He'd go, pray about it, brother. You know, this praying shit ain't working, man. Right? There was days I hated him. So.
Yeah, it's like my religion teacher's telling me to have faith. Mm-hmm.
Right. You're right. Exactly. Have faith. So right at 90 days, after I had disrupted one more meeting that day, they took me into the office and said, you know what? We don't really think you and Castler are a good fit, man. Maybe you should find someplace to go. Well, I went back to my room, and the reality of that is I didn't have any place to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not entirely true. Like, I could leave this office right now and walk not even a block from here and find dope on a street corner. And somebody with my negative attitude to party with and turn my life all upside down within a block of this room.
What prevents you from doing that?
Faith in a higher power that this too shall pass if it's a negative thing. And a love for my recovery.
Because you like who you are now?
I am. I do.
Mm-hmm. It's easier in some ways, isn't it?
Big time.
Yeah.
So it's still work. It's every day.
It is work.
So anybody that's watching this, right?
It's different work.
It is different work.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that's watching this, if you're new in recovery, keep coming back. But if somebody would have told me day one that I was going to be doing this 18 years later, every day of my life, I'd have a bottle of Jaeger in my hand right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So keep coming back. Keep doing it.
Yep.
So after I came to that realization, I dropped to my knees. And through my life, I'd said all kinds of 911 prayers, is what I call them, 911 prayers.
Yeah.
Well, Lord.
Come to Jesus meetings.
Yeah, right. Lord, let this judge be cool. Lord, don't let this cop take me to jail today. Oh, Lord, let me get out of jail this morning. Oh, Lord, don't let her find out about her sister. You know, stuff like that. So, smile. That was funny. No.
Okay. I don't know who you're talking about or whose sister, but.
Right. So, I'd done bad things in my life. Lord, let me get out of this one, right?
Yeah.
911 prayers.
Yeah.
So this time, I hit my knees and I said a real prayer. Lord, I don't think you know me. I don't know you. We've never really talked before. And I don't know how to do this. And so I need help. I don't know how to slow down like these guys do. I don't know how to chill like they do. I don't know how to do this. Lord, please help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, tears, and it's real. It's real. It's from the heart. It's real.
Mm-hmm.
That night was the first night that I'd actually slept through the night in years.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, so I have quads now. I ride quads also, motorcycles and quads. But my current roommate, my bro at the time, had quads. So he took me riding quads. So I thought, a motorcycle with 4 tires, how easy should that be?
It's not.
Right. So I'm...
People tip them over all the time and hurt themselves a lot.
So I'm like hauling ass, like 3 miles an hour. 3, not 30, 3. I walk that fast and I'm a fat guy. So I went over a little bump. I thought I was tipping over. I put my foot down. First thing you learn when you ride quads, don't put your foot down. I ran over my leg and I flipped that quad up on top of myself and I broke 3 ribs.
Ow.
2 in the back and 1 in the front.
Oh my God.
I laid there wheezing for breath and remembered the prayer that I'd said the night before. Lord, I don't know how to slow down like these guys do. I don't know how to chill. So I think that my higher power speaks to everybody the way they need to hear him speak. Some get a gentle nudge. Some get a kick in the ribs. I did not get kicked out of Castle and I've rocked my recovery ever since.
Nice. I love that. So that was a huge turning point for you.
That was a big turning point for me. Have I answered any of your questions?
No, because I just went off script with you.
Is that okay? Are we okay?
Yes, of course. But I am going to look at some of them because there were some things that I feel like, were you ever part of a gang?
I rode with a lot of bad guys.
Okay.
And we did a lot of scandalous things.
Okay.
And I don't want to put that on blast in the world, okay?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I've done some bad things.
Okay. Yeah.
And I rode with a bunch of guys that did bad things.
Yeah. Motorcycles? When you say road?
Yeah, motorcycles. Yeah,
Got
of course, yeah.
Okay.
Everything centers around motorcycles. My recovery centers around motorcycles.
Did you ever run a meth house?
I lived in one.
Okay. What was that like?
I don't know. There was a crank lab in the bathroom. We called it crank back then.
Really?
Bathtub crank.
Okay.
Prope
So
dope.
someone was making it.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever know how to make it? Like, were you ever part of that process? Or were you just mostly using it?
So meth wasn't really my drug of choice.
Oh, it
I
wasn't.
wasn't really a meth guy.
Okay, when you
So we
said street
did-
jokes, I didn't.
Oh,
yeah.
so we did meth out of necessity.
Okay.
We're going for a ride,
Okay.
which could be 24 hours worth of riding.
Uh-huh.
And you pack your nose and go for a ride.
Because you're going to stay up all night.
So you go take your business and then you ride home.
Okay. All right. So then, that wasn't necessarily, but you did use heroin.
Yes, I did.
And did you ever use that here in the States, or was that mostly
No,
overseas?
I've used that my whole life.
Okay.
My whole addiction.
Okay. Yeah.
It was easy.
It's easy.
Oh, it's easy to get.
Oh, easy to get.
Yeah.
But the high, is it easy?
Well, the high is amazing. It's the coming down part that sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the chasing. It's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle.
Right. It becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah. I saw Train Spotting. I'll never
that's
forget.
brutal.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's a huge trigger. I've watched it a couple of times. That's brutal.
Yeah, I watched it when it came out, and
The
I was
little
like,
kid
I don't
thing.
think I'll
Oh
ever
my
try
God.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's brutal.
I had a cousin who overdosed with heroin. Yeah.
Now we're losing patients to fentanyl.
I know.
There's a lot of brutal drugs out there right now. Thank God I don't use them.
Yeah, I know. I'm at
Thank
Father's.
God we don't use them.
I know. I feel very fortunate. I never was in. I mean, I guess what is considered a straight drug, but I was never using those drugs. I was using more socially acceptable ones, but a lot of them. Yeah.
Like cocaine.
Yeah, I mean, I never really got into cocaine. I had friends who did, for sure. That for me, it was always, I was very practical about that. I grew up with a father who, you don't know this about me, but I grew up with a father who was a cop and then an investigator in the 60s and a DEA agent. And he took
Wow.
Timothy Leary down in the Black Panthers.
Oh, wow.
And then he became a deputy district attorney, and he lost one case in 20 years. Then he ran for DA, and then
In the Bay Area.
No, down in Southern California.
Oh.
There's been a book
You
written
said Timothy Leary
with he in it,
the-
and well, he would travel up to the Bay Area
There you go.
undercover. Yeah. And
Stephen Gaskins was bros with Timothy Leary.
I had a feeling I was going to bring that up, but I didn't want to stop you. And so because I had that as a background and theoretically should have been clean, right? I had a lot of abuse in the home, all three types. And, there was a lot of stuff going on. Because there was a lot of stuff going on and I was the baby, in a lot of ways, I was sheltered from some of it because my sisters were umbrellas, so to speak. they got more abuse than I did, for sure. But because it was never addressed, and I was the only kid, I made a decision. I grew up very fast like you, and I was watching everything, very observant. And at about 12, I realized I had to get out. And so and I'm a terrific planner. So I just started coming up with a plan. And I'm the only kid that went to college and the only one that they allowed to get away, so to speak. And this is the furthest that any of us, all my entire family's still in Southern California. So originally I moved up to Northern California for school, for college. And, they were threatening for me to leave that at any moment. So I was very sheltered and grew up very naive, and that was purposeful. They didn't want us to leave. And so anything that happened to me, I was very careful not to share. And so I dealt with a lot of trauma on my own. And then it took me many years of therapy and working on myself and working with other people to unravel all of the things that happened even when I left the home. Then I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition at 38 because of my life choices and the marriage that I was in and the lifestyle that I was living. And because of that, it was a lesser known one, and you can lose your eyesight. And so I had many moments in my life where I woke up to my circumstances, but that was probably the largest one where I really was forced to make a huge lifestyle change. And that's how I moved here to Portland from San Francisco. I left everything behind, cleaned up my life. But I did that multiple times over my life. Left circumstances and started over again that were unhealthy for me. So I got better at it. I'm really, really, really good at starting over and reinventing from scratch,
from ground zero,
over and over again. So I got smarter each time in the choices that I made and picked different people. But most of the things that I've learned or accumulated have been self-taught or on my own journey. I'm very, very grateful for my second DUI. That's how I think I ended up in social work again, is just based upon my experience. I went through 12-step, was forced through the program, right? I got maximum sentence on my DUI because I was in Sacramento, California, and they're pretty conservative since it's the capital, and they are quite ticked off at me and my choices that afternoon. And, I got maximum sentence for everything. So I spent some time in jail, Women's Correctional Facility in Sacramento, in a huge block of women. And that was a pretty intense experience, I would say. I've never been treated like a human being quite that way ever before in my life. And so all of these things that happened, I never shared with my dad. He could have helped me probably in a lot of circumstances, pull some strings, but I never chose the easy route because I felt like, I wanted to do it on my own. And it came with strings too. And my two sisters were always in trouble, and so he was always bailing them out. And there's a lot of shame in the family and guilt around that, right? So, I did it all on my own. So, that's a little bit about me.
Good for you.
Yeah, cleaning up my life when I moved here to Portland, and I was still married at the time, but. And that took some unraveling as well. It's not like I didn't know that I needed to leave, but I kept giving my abuser more chances to change. And I grew up in a family where I was taught that was normal. That was normal.
Right.
So
that's how it works.
That's how it works. So, so it took me a really long time to also free myself of that relationship, and that was not a physically dangerous one, but an emotionally dangerous one. So it was a very Yeah, I had to plan that route too, that backing up, so to
Escape
speak.
route.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I have also, you know, um, cleaned up my life. I also have traversed some very interesting choices and paths and been around some very interesting people, and certainly did not use heroin, but and not so much coke, but definitely loved LSD, loved mushrooms,
Some of us were feelings on our
loved
sleeves,
alcohol, loved ecstasy. Right, I
missed that.
I was the
I got
generation a
sober
little
too
bit
soon.
below you,
Right.
yeah. So I was doing raves in the '90s and all of that grunge life because I was in college at Sonoma State. And
So I was in Seattle for all that.
yeah, you were really in the thick of it.
Yep.
You were with the cool kids.
I had a buddy that owned Phoenix Underground.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
We tore Seattle up.
I bet you did. Yeah. So
we worked all indoors in Pioneer Square.
Oh, cool. Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate that you're willing to share so much about your story because now you're on the other side of that. So what does that feel like for you?
So life is good. I feel blessed. I get to work with hurting human beings.
Hurting human beings, people that are hurting and in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you help them?
You know what? Everybody's a little different. Everybody's different. I just try to show them that it's possible and just love on them.
Yeah. I call it sprinkling love in all of the places that no one else has before.
Right.
Yeah. Including themselves.
There you go.
And sometimes you need to show people how to love, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because it was never shown to them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm spreading seeds. I don't get to germinate them and I don't get to watch them grow 99% of the time. I point the right direction and plant the seed.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
People in our industry, people go, you must have helped a lot of people. Go, so I can't take responsibility for anybody's success. Go, wow, that guy had 30 days recovery. Look what I did. Well, that guy committed suicide last week. Right? We can't take responsibility for anybody's success. In the same way, I can't take responsibility for anybody's failure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you can take responsibility for the fact that you've influenced people in a positive way.
I just hope that I have, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What was the most difficult part about being in prison?
So I was never an inmate as an adult.
Okay, you weren't.
No, I did a lot of time as a juvenile, but not as an adult.
Okay.
I was a little kid. I was a small guy. I grew 4 inches when I went in the military. I was a really small guy. I got tampered with. There were some bigger, badder guys there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
So that was absolutely the hardest part.
Mm-hmm. What was the longest sentence that you were in a correctional facility?
So I was at Mission Creek like a year.
Okay.
I was in there for a long time.
Yeah, that is a long time. What was the most difficult decision you've ever made and why?
Wow. The most difficult decision I've ever made. I made a bunch of poor decisions. So I've been divorced twice. And my second marriage, my wife was such an amazing human being. Absolutely such an amazing human being. She got a good career. She's a total citizen. She's got her act together in a giant way. Her sons are very successful, and she just seems to do everything right. She's amazing. I made some poor decisions that relationship ended. She travels for a living, and she came home one day and she goes, "So Rick, are you like really, really happy?" I said, "I don't know. Yeah, I guess." She goes, "I feel the same way." I moved out like 4 days later. We were married 10 years. We were together 10 years. And that all happened in recovery. I met her in recovery. On my second year, when I first got sober, I got my personal affirmations from who was on my shoulder. So I was 13 stepping professional. You know what that means, right?
Mm-mm.
I was to 12 steps. So 13 is dating.
Okay.
So I was a 13-step professional.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in trouble in my early recovery at my group home at Castle.
Because you're dating?
Yeah. More than one at a time, and got busted, and I was bringing drama into the house. Not cool, right? So my bro, Randy, the guy that I still hang out with today, said, "I bet you can't stay away from girls for 2 years." And I didn't know that at the time. I thought everybody was being mean by making that rule, right? So I did it. I stayed single for 2 years. I got my very first computer first time I've ever even touched one in my whole life at 2 years sober. I signed up for eHarmony, and I met Dana.
Wow.
My very first computer, I turned it on, set up an email. In fact, still today, my email is the same, easyimnew@yahoo.com. My personal email is still the same, easyimnew. I remember being accepted. I called one of my daughters. I said, "Honey, I have an email." She goes, "Why don't you send me an email?" I don't know how to, but I got one. Right? First email I got was from eHarmony. I got a free 30 days.
Okay.
I met a bunch of liars, and then I met Dana.
Okay.
And it was a whirlwind tour. She traveled for a living. I just saw a lot of states. We went to Boston, went to San Diego. We rode our motorcycle to San Diego. It was awesome. We just went all over the place. Went to Milwaukee for the Harley anniversary. All the bucket list stuff is very cool. So yeah, a really tough decision I made was agreeing with her that I didn't fight for her. I should have. I should have fought for her. I did not. I caved.
Is that something that you regret?
It is.
What's your relationship with her now?
We don't talk. We're friends. We're not enemies or anything. I see her at church once in a while.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's still active in recovery and active in church.
Okay. Wow.
I'm sorry, that was a long
No,
story.
You're fine. I was just looking at the other questions that I had. What's the most exciting thing that you've ever done?
Well, I've done some amazing things in my life. I don't know. I went on a castle tour in Europe. That was really cool.
That is really cool.
That was really cool. I toured Europe when I was in the military. I went to Oktoberfest. I did all that. I went to Mardi Gras. I've been I've snow machined on Denali in Alaska. My sister lives up there.
That's cool.
Wow. I've ridden my motorcycle from Canada to Mexico and back on the West Coast, all up and down the East Coast. I lived in Daytona for a year. I lived on Nantucket.
Did you ever own a fast car?
I owned some fast cars. There's some fast cars in my yard as we speak.
Like?
We have an 81 Stingray Corvette. We have a 73 Nova. A handful of Harleys. I have a 350Z little sports car because I traded my Jeep for a giant truck so I could haul all the quads to the beach so I could take all my grandkids to the beach.
Oh, you
They
own
lost
quads.
interest in the quads. Now I'm selling quads in my trailer. And I have
Okay.
this giant truck that gets 10 miles to the gallon, uphill, downhill, with a race car behind it. Doesn't matter. 10 miles to the gallon. It's not really practical for driving around. It looks really cool, but it's not practical. So I bought a
Yeah.
little sports car, classic midlife crisis car, red, chrome wheels, rag top.
Wow, that's
It's
fun.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool car.
Okay.
My Harley's sitting out in front of your building right now.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, the sun came out today.
I know. I have a helmet.
Oh,
I have a helmet. I have leathers. I probably still have boots. I have a jacket. It was not a Harley jacket, but I have a leather jacket. Yep. I think I even have my glasses.
well,
Yep.
look at you.
I might have gloves
You're
too.
set up for a ride.
I am. I haven't been in a while, but yes, I am. My ex-husband had a Harley.
Oh.
I helped him sell it. I always talked about getting my own.
You
I had
helped
a
him sell
dirt
it.
bike.
What does that look like?
Well, he was infamous for buying things and then not wanting them anymore.
Oh.
I
Harleys?
sold a
I can't
lot
wrap
of
my
things.
mind around that.
I helped him sell a lot of things. Ping pong table, like
I have
just
a ping pong table.
yeah, Porsche. Like yeah, he
Bought toys
buying. He loves buying things, including me. Right? Yeah. At one point, what was the best part of all of those exciting things?
that I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
That I made it through all that. The good, the bad. The riding my motorcycle like an idiot, like I wanted to die. The surviving.
Mm-hmm.
And being here today.
Is there a dream that you've never accomplished? That you've always wanted to accomplish?
So, you know what? Not really.
So you lived a pretty full life.
I've lived a full life.
Yeah.
I'm pretty cool with who I am today.
You seem like you are.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't say that with arrogance. I say that with
confidence.
I've lived my life and
you have. Yeah. Yeah. It's a great place to be, isn't it?
it is a great place to be. Yes.
It's a lot easier than it was before. I love this plot. What's the best lesson that you've ever learned in life?
Well, the best lesson I've ever learned in life.
Uh-huh.
Don't put your foot down on a quad.
Yeah.
So I still ride quads today.
I know you're not afraid. That's unbelievable
right, I
to
have
me.
a top dog built Banshee. My roommate and I were kind of built the same. He's smaller than I am. He's a shorter guy. And we were out playing on the beach one day, and these kids were just beating us up on their quads. So we have the means and the ability. We went out and bought the biggest guns on the block. Or keep up with us now, punks. And I got to the top of the hill one day, and this kid comes up behind me. I pulled my helmet off. He goes, "Dude, how old are you?" I got here first, man. Doesn't matter.
When you say you bought the best guns,
the biggest guns on the
biggest guns on the block, you mean the biggest
fastest
quads?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. They were built by Top Dog Racing.
Yeah. I just want to clarify in case anyone who is watching or listening might think that you bought guns.
No. Okay. No.
Do you own any guns?
No.
I love it.
I am a felon. I'm not allowed to have guns.
Okay. All right. That's right. Mm-hmm. So, Rick, how do you feel that we can incorporate more love in our lives? When I called you, one of the first times we talked, I said, we're going to have a conversation about love. And you said, it's my favorite topic. I said, good, it's my favorite topic too.
It is my favorite topic.
Yeah, so I had to end it on love.
I wish there was a way that I could share love with people that don't understand it. Many people. And I meet most of the people that I work with are coming out of prison, or they're in their addiction. They're currently upside down. and they don't even know what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about the process that I went through to find out what love was myself. It took a long time. So I was never an abusive man. I was never physically abusive. I was never that guy. Never. I've never laid a hand. I'm not a scrapper. I don't fight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I might look like it, but I'm not that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a public relations guy.
You're a negotiator.
I was a patch man. I fix things.
You're a mediator.
I'm a mediator. Yes, I am. I fix things.
Yeah, I'm a connector too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
From the tipping point?
No, I just mean,
Oh.
no, not from the tipping point. What's the
Do
tipping
you know
point?
the book?
Oh,
So Malcolm.
yeah, Malcolm. Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah. I saw
So
him
I'm a
speak.
connector also.
Yeah.
That actually helped me identify who I am in the world.
Yeah.
Strength finders too.
Uh-huh.
I have woo like crazy.
Uh-huh.
I'm a woo guy.
Okay.
So, I unfortunately, in the world that I work in, it crosses boundary lines. And it goes against the secular world that I'm employed by,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't change that. And I'm looking for a way to work love into my work, my employment, what I do for a living. I'm a counselor, substance use disorder counselor.
Yeah.
Find a way to work love into working with people without crossing boundary lines.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
It's a tough place to be.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, it is. How do you feel that we can incorporate more love for ourselves in the world around us?
Halfway through second gear is like 6 shots of Jaeger. It all goes away. And I love the feeling of freedom that I get.
With 6 shots of Jaeger?
No, halfway through second gear. Halfway through second gear is like 6 shots Jaeger. It all goes away.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you suggest we all get a Harley?
No, some people are idiots. No.
That's why I don't drive them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love my bike. Everybody has their own. I try to help people find their escape. So like when my world feels out of control, I do things that are within my control. Like I have a very complete shop and toys and quads and cars and bikes and things to work on. So I go out into my shop and people know that if my tunes are too loud to talk to me, don't.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right, I'm in Rick world.
You're working out something.
I have a sign above my work bed. It says my happy place. Right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you like to work with your hands.
Yeah. And I get to step back and say, wow, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
In my work, I don't get to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to point at a human being and say, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's taking responsibility for somebody else's actions. I don't get to do that.
Sure. What about, did you ever have children of your own?
A son that I didn't meet until he was 25. His mom told him I was dead.
Okay.
I didn't meet him until he was 25.
Wow.
Just a few years ago. He just got married.
Wow. What was that like? We just snuck that in at the end.
Yeah, right. Sorry about that. So yeah, that was out of the blue. Actually, he reached out to me, found me on Facebook, reached out to me. I drove up, saw him on his birthday.
What was it like to find out you had a son all of this time?
So I knew that I had a son. I knew that he was there.
Okay.
She hid from me.
Okay.
I paid $65,000 in child support over 18 years.
Right?
I paid child support the whole time for a child I never met.
I see.
I knew he was mine.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's a cool kid. Yeah, we're good. He's married. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, you have a relationship now with him?
So, not really. We don't communicate much.
Okay. But you've at least met him.
I have met him.
Yeah. Wow.
I introduced him to my mom before my mom passed away about 18 months ago, almost 2 years ago.
I'm sorry.
And I had a chance to, his name is Riley. Hey, brother. I had a chance to introduce him to my mom before she died. That was very cool.
I bet.
So this all just transpired just like recently. Last few years.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you single today?
I am.
Okay.
Yep, I'm single today.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm married to a motorcycle.
Yeah, you are. Maybe safer in some ways and not in others.
Cheaper, I don't know. Yeah, no, it is. My bike doesn't break my heart.
Yeah.
My bike doesn't care if I look at other bikes.
Nope.
My bike, and I, you know what, I just use that as a cheap excuse. I would love to be in a relationship. I love being in love. I love being in love. I love the falling in love part.
Doesn't everyone?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
And then unfortunately it gets real.
Mm-hmm.
But I love falling in love.
Mm-hmm. Well, if it gets real with the right person.
Amen.
Yeah. If it gets real with the right person, then theoretically it should be very enjoyable.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, no, not always. But
well, as time, like for a long time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well.
It shouldn't be fleeting. It shouldn't be in a moment.
No. Yeah. Yeah. It takes work.
Yeah.
And compatibility. It's not it is about feelings, but it's about compatibility.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when we're kids, I don't know that all of us were taught that. So we chased the feeling.
We did.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we chased the feeling,
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I really appreciate you. And you have an incredible story.
So I'm sharing my testimony tomorrow night at the Hillside Community on 185th and Farmington.
Yeah.
Celebrate Recovery meeting.
What do you mean you're sharing your testimony?
So I have a written out testimony.
Of your story?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Does that happen regularly or?
Yeah, I don't know. I get invited out to different Celebrate Recoveries to share my testimony.
Okay. Cool. Very cool. Well, I hope that it goes well.
It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's tears. There's laughter.
Yeah, I bet.
And to say some of the stuff that I told you.
Yeah.
Plus some other juicy stuff.
Good. Well.
And I'm going to talk about this.
Yeah?
I'm going to talk about love.
Good.
I'm going to talk about meeting you.
Good. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, I've been talking about you all week. And this event, everybody's going, oh man, send us the link, man.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad that we could share your story with more people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.